Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Wednesday class, which
For what time?
you always look forward to it. So, and me too, actually. Okay, because this is the day when we talk about something new topic. So let's do the peace prayers also. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhu Bhavaswaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Sadgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamya. ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सवीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्वी नावधीतमस्तु मा विद्वेषावहै ओम शांति 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 I hear from many people that we are not religious, we are spiritual. What does it really mean now? Because in a religion, there are often some dogmas, some rituals. Religion can divide us also. I belong to this religion, you belong to that religion, or even in one religion, there are so many sects also. But when we talk about spirituality, it is same. It is same for all of us. Spirituality is not an action or a ritual or a mechanical practice. Then what it is? It is a deep understanding that leads to a vision of life. It is a shift of attention that brings transformation in life. So if somebody says, I believe in spirituality, the person has to look at it. Has there been any transformation in my life? Have I grown? Do I feel oneness with everybody? Because that's what spirituality is. Because it's not a religious dogma that will confine you to some faith, concept, or a narrow perception of life. A relationship that can enhance your vision of life is spirituality. So that means a relationship with any relationship. We go through many relationships in life. In our family, we have relationships. In the community, we have relationship. As a citizenship, we have relationship. When we go to work, we have relationship. When we drive on the road, there's a relationship with other drivers also. When we go into a marketplace, there's a relationship between the other buyers. Spirituality teaches us that we are living in an interdependent world. Everyone is directly or indirectly dependent on other. The world of human beings cannot be independent of the world of animals or birds, insects, or aquatic creatures, etc. And vice versa. We all need each other. Not only that, we need these elemental forces also. The earth, water, fire, air, space. We cannot live without them. So harmonious coexistence is possible only when we recognize the role of each one in completing each other's spiritual life. Live and let live. Anyone who tries to stay away from this harmonious coexistence will be heading for his own spiritual incompleteness. So that's why when we study the Vedic mantras, we see that how beautifully it has been elaborated by those great rishis. Harmony. For example, nobody likes selfishness. If you discover that your friend is very selfish about his or her demands, you criticize or condemn that person. We all criticize the selfish politicians, selfish social workers, selfish priests and the preachers, selfish co-workers. Yet when we aggressively act to fulfill our own selfish desires, we do not consider it inappropriate. Why? Perhaps we have never been told that selfishness disturbs the harmoniousness in life. It's a very basic tenet of spirituality. Stay away from selfishness. And we all have to observe it very carefully. And it really matters when we are trying to discover peace during our meditation. Selfish person can never meditate. Any act of selfishness we have done, we won't be able to meditate. It's very important. Another thing we have to watch, because we are living with other people, because we are talking about spirituality in relationships, allow others to participate in your life. And I'm talking about love over here. A relationship without love for each other is a mere commercial partnership. It just becomes an agreement just to achieve a material goal. Sometimes it can benefit to both, but still material goal. A husband-wife relationship, if carried on only as a society-recognized relationship for companionship, for physical pleasure, to produce children, to have social status, it does not help in any way the spiritual growth. Because all of those things are just at the material level. So in such cases, there will be competition about who earns more, who loves the child better, and who should decide on family matters, etc. Conversely, when such a relationship is for something more than just to fulfill conventional responsibilities, we see a beautiful spiritual relationship will unfold. So that's why spirituality has to be in our very basic relationships. That's where it starts. A relationship is like a mirror where you see yourself in the other person. Then your relationship will be a means to correct yourself, not to challenge the other. You will allow others to participate in your life without any resistance. You enjoy giving freedom to others in the relationship because you know you need freedom. Ultimate goal is freedom. So as you reduce the distance between you and the others, there will be love and care that lead to enhancement of your spiritual self, the recognition of oneness, of the self in all. So the closeness doesn't have to be a physical closeness. Oneness really means in the thought level. You don't have to get involved physically with everybody. Those boundaries we must keep. Another thing we got to remember, if you want to live a spiritual life, treat others the way you want to be treated. We have all studied Ramayana. In Ramayana, we find the leading character, Shri Ram, an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, is shown as an embodiment of compassion and righteousness. He maintained spiritual relationship with everyone he met in his life. His mother, or I should say mothers, father, wife, brothers, servants, and even his enemies. He treated all of them the way he wants to be treated by others. He gave respect even to animals and birds also. Maybe you should dig into Ramayana and look at it again. By obeying the orders of his father, he allowed his father to grow spiritually, even though his father was unable to execute his own duties. Or he didn't want to keep his own word, which was given to his wife. He showed compassion and love to his servants who were ready to give up their life for him. He cared for his citizens and sacrificed his personal life. He demonstrated the need to spiritually unfold in every relationship. The reason I brought Lord Ram's example, because his birthday is coming very soon, the end of this month. When we celebrate the birthdays or special days of these great personalities or God incarnations, we got to learn from their life. We got to see how can we emulate their life? If not totally, at least partially. Another one is spend time for your children. The key word over here is for. Spending time with your children is different from spending time for your children. Being with your family under the same roof does not mean you are there for them. Many parents think that providing for education, food, and clothing for their children are the only responsibilities. Think about it. If not you, who will give the right values to your children? Sometimes we think that schools should do it, or the government should do it. Parents should do it. Other than you, whom do the children respect the most? All other relationships are secondary. Parents' relationship is the first. There is an ancient Sanskrit saying which really elaborates how to raise the children right from the beginning. Lalyat panch varshani, dash varshani tadyat, prapte tu shotshe varshe, putra mitravat acharet. Pamper the child up to 5 years. Give a discipline up to 15. What do we do these days? If we give them the discipline first, want them to keep on crying and go to sleep. Pamper the child up to 5 years, give discipline up to 15. On reaching 16, you will become a friend to your child. Child will have trust in you. Child will know that who loves me unconditionally. Child will be well disciplined, will know the do's and the don'ts of this life. Do not let go an opportunity to spend time for them. Cherish their company. Why? Because it is God's gift for you. God trusted you with that little baby. Give your best to your child. Spending time for the children is spending quality time for them. Quality. Not just be there and be on your phone. Be there for them. Keeping quality as the priority. What you live every day is what you teach for them to live. Because you got to be exemplary for your children. Do not expect your children to behave differently than you. Because what they observe is what they emulate. In other words, they don't do what you say, they do what you do. That is a life where spirituality is in the relationships. Another point I want you to remember is love humbles ego. A relationship would remain as mere human relationship if the ego is present in either of the two. Where there's an ego, there's no love. A relationship is neither a competition between two people nor a field for comparison. Comparison breeds jealousy and hatred. You would have noticed that you as a teenager were closer to your friend than your sister or brother. The reason is there is a subtle undercurrent of ego between you and your sibling that interfered. Perhaps your sister's behavior deflect the feeling. If there was an older sister said, I am older to you, or I'm smarter than you, and you are unable to let go of the feeling of superiority or inferiority. That really strengthens the ego. The feeling of superiority or inferiority both strengthen the ego. With your friend, you are ready to let go of the feeling. Perhaps you will feel the same tension with your friend if both of you happen to love the same person. But strangely enough, if both of you were in love with the same form of God, you feel united in that love. So love for God brings us closer. And love for another human being separates us. How is that? Because nobody can possess God. Because that is the true love. A love that does not lead to possessiveness is that which can humbles the ego. So even in a human relationships, if we bring that element in there, ego will disappear. If you can develop any relationship in the same way you love God, then you have developed a spiritual relationship. No possessiveness. How to live in the world while growing spiritually? That's another question. Arjuna asked that too. How does a person like that behaves in this world? And how do we recognize that kind of a person? Worldly and spiritual life cannot be completely separated. Because you cannot maintain your existence without the help of the material world, you must learn how to obtain sufficient worldly resources and how to use these resources as a means for obtaining spiritual wisdom. So they go hand in hand. We live in this material world, we got to learn, but remember that it is just only a matter. That is just a prakriti. And I am the spirit, the soul. So what is the trick then? How do we do this? The trick is to expand your consciousness without losing yourself in the material world. Or you can say that without drowning into this Maya. Maya outside is okay, but inside it's not okay. That's how we drown. In relationship to the world, be vigilant like a hawk, which focus on its prey while keeping an eye out for possible danger. So that's how we got to be, always be vigilant. Am I drowning in it? Am I thinking about material world all the time? Or another example is the way the heron has the right attitude towards the world. I'm sure you have all seen herons. It stands still in the water. Looks like it's in a deep meditation, but when the right moment comes, it catches the fish in a flash. Be still and patient when there's no need to be active. I'm not talking about only the physical part. It's mainly the mental part. Be still and patient when there's no need to be active. When it is time to act, perform your actions effectively. And on time. So that means you got to be skillful also and do not procrastinate. And again, return to a state of stillness. Whatever you need to do it and then become still again. Learn how to relax like a dog. A dog falls asleep quickly. If anything moves, it's awake. An instant, the dog is ready for an action. When the moment has passed, the dog falls asleep again. So we can learn from the animals. That's why our yogis from the ancient time, even the names of the asanas are after the animals and the birds. Work hard, but it lightly. Perform your duties to the best of your ability, but with as little attachment as possible. So that means not just only to the fruits, I'm talking about the actions also. If you want to really go higher and higher on the level of spirituality, don't get attached to the actions either. Don't get lost in an endless round of worldly duties and obligations. No matter how skillful you are, or how selflessly you carry out your duties, there will still be an endless number of things left undone at the end of your life. If you don't learn how to balance duties and your personal spiritual practice, you will be lost. Keep a balance. Regulate your life. Go to sleep on time and get up on time. Maintain a schedule. When it's time to sleep, sleep. When it's time to get up. Don't be lazy. After 10 p.m., even a 5-minute deviation from your schedule will make a difference. For example, if a close friend calls you after 10 p.m. and you have to talk to her, conversations with those who are close to us affect us deeply, so you may not be able to sleep for a while after the conversation. So from the perspective of your practice, this conversation with your friend is not constructive. Be careful about that. And this conversation could be even in a text manner. That is also a conversation. Conversation is also when we look at our Facebook. That's a conversation. When you are developing the habit of practice, everything counts. You have to consciously make a strong commitment to your practice and resolve that while you will not ignore the world, you will also not let it get in the way of your sadhana. So this is the skillfulness, because we live in this world, we got to learn how to live in this world, but at the same time, remember what our ultimate goal is. Because sometimes when I talk like that to people, they think that I'm telling them to give up the close friendships. No, it does not mean that. Skillful people act in such a way that they are not abandoned by others. But it's even more important not to abandon others. Relationships are important. There's a reason we are in a relationship. Whether it's our close family or children or our other friends, or even duties towards the nation. This is a subtle point. Don't think now I have found the way and I don't care for anybody else. No. That's not how a spiritual being acts. Rejecting others is a sign that you have an internal conflict and you feel abandoned. That's a sign, actually. Never reject others because they are not living according to your standards. Instead, look at your own life and remember how long it took you to become firmly established on the path. Think how lucky you are to have gotten help along the way. Rather than focusing on what other people are doing wrong, think about how you can be a tiny lamp to light their way. Most of us already know better than to be narrow-minded. We know that principles of right and wrong differ according to time and place. We know that God loves us all and that we should love one another. But somehow we forget. So these principles we know. We have heard them again and again and again. So why do we forget it? Because we fail to remember our supreme goal, the ultimate goal of life, or the need of the soul, the Atma. Atma wants to merge with the Paramatma. Atma likes to be free, but we have forgotten that. At the level of the soul, are we different? All of us have the same awareness or the sense of I-ness. We all want to express ourselves. It's almost like a seed pushes all obstructions away and sends a sprout to the surface. When it receives water, warmth, and light, that's how the soul wants to emerge out and become one. It's a miracle that a tender sprout can push pebbles and clods aside and make its way to the surface. Have you ever wondered? Now spring is coming. We'll see the buds, the leaves, the plants, the flowers, how beautifully they merge. They work hard to strive for life. Even if it doesn't get enough nourishment, it will often survive and struggle to bloom. The same way is true with the life of the spirit. The tiny seed of consciousness is constantly trying to express itself despite life's hardships. No matter how hard the journey, no matter how many obstacles it must overcome, it never stops. Rishi Patanjali talked about it in Yoga Sutras very clearly. That ultimately we are all moving towards that. Constant awareness helps us stay focused on our goal. A disorganized lifestyle is disruptive and distracts our awareness from the highest goal of life. That's why the very first sutra, according to Rishi Patanjali, Atha Yoga Anushashanam. We got to have a life of Anushashan, disciplined life. That is why, in spite of knowing the value of the goal, we fail to practice sincerely and wholeheartedly. And that's why the tiny seed of consciousness, which constantly tries to express itself, becomes weak and fails to blossom. Life after life after life after life. Yet attending to this process of inner unfoldment doesn't mean we have to abandon our family and friends. What happens is that when this process of unfoldment slows down, we feel sad and lost. That internal sadness manifests in feeling of abandonment. We feel that we have abandoned others or that others have abandoned us. Whereas in truth, these feelings are simply symptoms of loneliness for the eternal friend within. It is a conflict that has a little basis in external reality. We must shake off the tendency to be discouraged and must continue with our practice wholeheartedly, sincerely. We got to work to refine our perception. Only after we have lit the lamp within can we walk safely on our own personal path. Then we can light the path for others at the same time. But the journey starts from us though. If our own little lamp is not lit, we really cannot light others' path. Remember that. Spirituality involves the expansion of consciousness. As your consciousness expands, you embrace all and exclude none. Everyone becomes your friend, yet you remain undisturbed. by the friendly or unfriendly activities of those around you. So I just threw a little light on this subject of spirituality today. Actually, religion is no different, but somehow the understanding of the religion has become different for people. That's why people say, no, we walk on the path of spirituality. But we got to know what this path entails. Okay, so we got to stay disciplined, do our duties, remember the goal always. Where are we going? Who we are? And what is the field which we are playing with? Okay, so let's stop it here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om.